During this final segment of the show, Swami Krishnapada has agreed to talk about two of his most recent books, one, Leadership for a Higher Consciousness, and the other, Spiritual Warriors, Part 2. And of course, what we'd like to do during this final segment, Krishnapada, is to have you to talk about these two books that you believe are very, very important in terms of trying not only to deliver your message, but perhaps creating a situation to bring people together. Let's talk about it from that perspective.
As these two recent books are being translated into 6 different languages and being used at several universities and in management courses. And one may ask, why would a spiritual person be interested in writing a book on management, book on leadership? Well, I think we can see from some of the recent things that's happening here in America and other parts of the world that one of the biggest problems we're dealing with also is a crisis in leadership. That there's a lack of leaders with integrity, principle centeredness. There's a lack of leaders with a servant leadership consciousness. So we wanted to take so many powerful ideas and techniques from sacred scriptures and to present those techniques in a way of how to solve material problems that we are now being confronted with. So it's like a handbook. And I've personally given this book, this is the 2nd edition, now we have it in pen and paper cover. I've personally given this to about a dozen presidents, you know, within the last year and a half or so myself. And it's been sent out, you know, many places around the world. It's been appraised by members of the United Nations, high-level gentlemen in the business community, as well as in the educational community. My other book, which came out a few months ago, which is called Spiritual Warrior 2, Transforming Lust into Love. And this is in a series. This is the 2nd one of this particular series of the 6 books that I have. I was asked, believe it or not, Dr. Haney, to offer a message to the nation on Valentine's Day by members of the Washington Post staff, the editorial staff. And it was just around the time that this book had come out. So the message dealt a lot with how a leader's private life and public life should be similar. Because the private life, especially when we look at ancient conceptions and from a point of religiosity and leadership, that one's private life is as or even more important because it tells you what the person is really about. The public life is often a performance. And what is manifested in the private life is gradually going to come out through policies and other things in the public life.
That's as within, so without.
Exactly.
That's the enlightened Western point of view. Very good, okay.
It's right on your head. So this book has been highly appraised because it's helped people in resolving conflicts in their marriage, because it also looks at sexuality from a physiological, metaphysical, sociological, psychological, and most important, spiritual perspective. It distinctly deals with how to really convert the lust into love. You know, we're having most of the marriages now ending in divorce. We're finding that children are becoming much more violent. And so we're addressing things that allows people to understand what are some of the problems that are underlining these particular concerns.
And now these books are, how are these books available?
They can be ordered from any bookstore. Swami Krishnapada, if they look it up in the bookshops, Spiritual Warrior 1 and 2, and Leadership, as well as they can find out about some of the other books that we're having available.
Now, and speaking of books, you are, I think, on a book tour now, and you will leave here, head into some other city to talk about. What do you do when you make these tours at these various book fairs?
At least a half a dozen things. First, of course, I'm going to a lot of the bookstores and doing lectures and book signing. I do some programs, you know, at the university, some lectures, some workshops, seminars. Have a chance to do like we're doing now, address the media, television, radio, newspaper. And then I visit some of my own communities that I directly oversee. See, for instance, I have a community in Pennsylvania of about 500 acres of land where we're teaching people how to build their own houses, grow their own food, make their own clothes. All the clothes I wear is made by some of my students in America and Africa and India. And to grow and to produce our own medicine and to gradually learn how to use alternative energy. This is significant because as people can control the variables in their life better, they can be more natural, which allows them to be more spiritual. And it's a way of showing that religion should not just be only Friday to Friday, Saturday to Saturday, Sunday to Sunday, but it should be something that's a part of our existence every day that improves on our life and on the quality of life for others.
And of course, during this last 45 or 50 seconds that we have here, Swami Krishnapada, let me thank you for coming by and giving us that excellent information today. And as we said before, many of our audience perhaps will be as myself, which is to say that I really didn't know that much about your religion and your point of view and et cetera, but we're certainly encouraged by what we hear, and there are so many things that happen in the Western tradition, as you undoubtedly know, that are part of what you're doing in another tradition. And certainly we just want to thank everybody. Not only do we thank you for coming by, but we thank the people that made it possible through the many months that we've had an opportunity to work with your people for you to be here today. And again, let me encourage our audience to tune in again next week for another informative edition of Comments. Thank you.